This program is intended for mature audiences. Parental discretion is advised.
What's up, everybody? Thank you for joining the Pop Culture Podcast for Thursday, September 16th, 2021. I can't believe how fast this year is flying by. Our guest this week is Mr. Bob Weiss, owner and proprietor of Shaker's Cigar Bar and Historical Emporium. What do you call it? What is it called, Bob?
Cultural Museum.
Cultural Museum. That's it. Why did I get a brain fart? Of course, Bob's got a bad connection, but as he did state, he's in one of the most haunted buildings in the United States, if not in the world. Of course, Shaker's has been on numerous television shows and documentaries. Bob, for everybody out there that doesn't know what the heck Shaker's is, give us a lowdown on what exactly Shaker's is.
Absolutely. Hey, Chris, Tom, good to meet you guys in person.
Nice to meet you.
So here we are. Shaker's has been around for 35 years. We are in a 1894 historic building. Originally a cooperage house for the Schlitz Brewing Company. Times changed during Prohibition. No reason to have wooden barrels anymore, so it was dormant for a while. And then in 1924, the Capones came up from Chicago, expanded their empire, and made this into a speakeasy and brothels. And it was that till 1946, well after Prohibition. Brothels are good business. And Shaker's has been here since 1986. And we are considered one of the most haunted bars, if not the most haunted bar in the country. We are appearing on all sorts of things. You can find us on currently on Netflix, episode number 3 in Dark Tourist. We're in a current piece on the BBC in the UK. PBS was filming here a week and a half ago to cover. They're doing a new documentary on speakeasies and the Capones that will be out in major markets in December. And then everything else, A&E, Discovery, Travel Channel, History Channel, whatnot. And we are... It's interesting, Chris, because we didn't start out to be a ghost kind of a place. So right. I'm a chef, and we came out of Chicago to shake up the local food and beverage scene. We got some real kick-ass food programs going on here, great selections of spirits, craft cocktails, wines, whatever, and this haunty thing. So really from day one, we experienced all sorts of phenomena that are outside the realm of normalcy. And what began with just bartenders and servers talking about their experiences any given week turned into us having to have guides because the waitresses, we were taking people around and they said, this is cool, but we're not able to take care of customers this way. So we brought in guides, and now we've got 9 people in the tour division alone. We have 5 primary tours at Shaker's, Ghost Tour 2.0, the Cream City Cannibal Tour, the Whoring 20s, the Milwaukee Dead. And what makes our tours a little bit different than other tours is that we have a real background in history. We have used every resource we could find before the internet. Mm-hmm. And so we utilize all parts of that in every one of the tours on a daily basis. And a lot of tours you take are really focusing just on the booze aspect, especially New Orleans. I love New Orleans for all sorts of reasons, but their ghost tours really are drinking tours, and we'll talk about ghosts sometimes. We talk about the different spirits that are here. And one of the reasons I think that we have them is that we are based over or built upon one of the 3 original cemeteries in southeastern Wisconsin for non-Indigenous people. So the Indian burial grounds were just west of us along the canal. But here, from 2nd Street into the marshes, was a cemetery. And so we've used ground-penetrating radar from Discovery World, and you, lo and behold, find body parts throughout the basement underneath the floor. But all the way in the back of the building, you find 2 virtually intact skeletons that go back to 1924. And again, what happened in 1924? Well, the Capones came here. They poured that cement floor and poured that right over these 2 other bodies that are there. That's part of the mystique here. And then in 2001, we're doing some remodeling here. We have a beautiful outdoor deck, and we've got the 4th floor for the Celestial Garden as well. But we do a lot of outdoor parties here, high-end dinner parties, corporate things. And I needed space in my hotline, and there was a shack. And the shack never made sense on the back of the 3rd floor deck, and it had to come down. So I'm out there, pry bars, sawzalls, got a couple guys working with me. And we start to find these bones in the back wall that abuts the building, and then the deck is really soft, so I rip up the deck as well, and lo and behold, there's a mass of bones. Now, I can't imagine a scenario where bones look right in a floor, but they certainly look wrong to me here. We called the authorities. The authorities came. It's a crime scene. They took our bones away. And then after about 11 or 12 weeks or so, they brought the bones back. Milwaukee's got a history of some really quirky medical examiners.
Yeah.
And all sorts of things that are maybe a little less colorful than you want to talk about now. But they brought the bones back to us, and they said that they had dated them, that they're about 70 years old. So 2001, when I was doing the work up here, minus that, we're about Prohibition, right, 1930s. And that half the bones were domestic animal, and the other half were human female remains, about 19-year-old to about a 16-year-old. So 3.5 years worth of span there. And we went back and again, using the library and the Historical Society, determined that the young lady was most likely named Molly Brennan, a rebellious young girl who left the Third Ward to find her way in the world. And she found her way here to this brothel, which is about 3 blocks away from the Third Ward. And apparently she was very proficient and had a skill set that really got her escalated to the 3rd floor quickly. And she had a fairly luxe life if you look at the historical record of these things. But at one point, a former boyfriend, childhood friend, whatever, came upon her here, wanted to take her away. She didn't want to go. Well, she remains. So what happened is that she was murdered. She was hacked apart, stuck inside the floorboards. And then I found that in 2001. So that's just one other component here, but we've got a ton of different things that take place here.
Yeah, for sure. I spent the night not long ago in the 3rd floor. The 3rd floor is actually a bed and breakfast that you rent out, right?
Yes, it is. Airbnb, yes.
It was a very cool experience. We have an echo going on, so I'm losing my train of thought there. Shaker, I've been all around the country. I've been in the most haunted places around the country, but Shakers has the most unique atmosphere. I find when I go there. When did you really embrace the whole ghost culture thing?
I'll be honest, Chris. I've had experience since I was 4 years old, and whether it's other businesses or properties I've owned, there has been something that's there and or finds me. I historically did not go looking for these things. But from day one, I had a partner named Kevin McHale in another business, and we did high-end woodworking. So we designed things for the audio industry, and we would work with bubingas and koas and exotic woods. And so Kevin, as a master carpenter, worked with me for 3 months on the project to restore this really to its grandeur. And we had a lot to start with, but we still needed some aspects that had to be, pieced together. There was no front bar and things like that. So we spent that time working on this 18-hour days, and only he and I had a key to it. And from inception, he and I went to lunch. So it's the first day working on this thing. And we've already been, we've been cutting things. You got our saw set up, and we're ripping wood everywhere. And there's sawdust everywhere. And we're wearing coveralls, and we go to grab lunch, and we're gone for 20 or 30 minutes. And he and I walk there together, and he and I walk back together. We walk in the door, and we notice that our tools have moved. And these are not like simple hand tools or something, and you forgot where you put something. We're talking about bench saws. We're talking about large things, lathes that we've got set up that have moved. That doesn't just happen, by the way. And if you look around, you can see the sawdust is completely intact. So nobody has walked through the sawdust and said, let's play a prank on them, kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. So we had things that took place like that were consistent in the 3 months that we were here. And we even had contractors. So the things we didn't do, the electrical work, the HVAC work, the plumbing, whatever else. And we'd have these crews that are working downstairs, and they'd run upstairs while we're ripping wood. And they'd say, did you hear that? Well, I know I didn't hear a thing. Yeah, it sounded like my daughter or my wife is calling me. Not a thing. They go back downstairs, and they'd say, hey, our tools have moved. So they're gone for the 5 or 10 minutes talking to us upstairs. And in that time, their things downstairs had moved. So many of them just ran out of the building and left their tools behind and just booked. So we never saw them again. And so it's not just us having this experience. It's other people that are completely not attached to anything going on that are having these experiences. And then when we finally open up, and now we've got bartenders and servers and customers, everywhere, and they've got their stories. And that could be even at night where we, face all the bottles. So you restock and you have all the bottles face the same direction, right? Always the front.
Yep.
So we come in the next day and the bottles are turned. And that's before we had sophisticated cameras, but lo and behold, you leave here at 2:30 or 3 in the morning and someone's back at 9 in the morning. Nobody else has been here, but the bottles are all refaced the opposite direction.
Do you think that has to do with prohibition? The ghost doesn't want people seeing that it's actually liquor?
Oh, I never thought about that, Tom, but that's a really good point. That could be, but even the liquor bottles, the top shelf, wines, whatever. I mean, they're getting faced around, and this is not a short task, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So
maybe the ghost is hiding them from the fuzz.
Well, that could be, but I'd probably also suggest that back in the time, much of the fuzz was probably on the take anyway. So
sure.
I'm sure the Capones really did a great job orchestrating their environment.
Yeah, for sure. I was a manager at Walgreens for many, many years, and we had to face all the merchandise every night. So when you said facing bottles, it just brought back nightmares. Thanks, Bob.
A small one by comparison, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. You had a very famous guest that would visit you back in the 90s and maybe 80s, Mr. Jeffrey Dahmer. What was that like? Yeah,
that was unnerving, and talk about nightmares and things I'll never forget. That would be him. There was no great conversation taking place. Chris, you obviously know Shakers. We've got 37 or 8 people on staff, and probably 2 are male and the rest are female, right? So that's been our gig forever. We just have women working everywhere. So he would come in, and we did lunch back then. So I would be in the kitchen, and my sous chef's in the kitchen. Line guys are there. And the bartenders say, there's this guy here that, of course, we all saw walk in the place. Corporate America. So we're at that time, it's heavy judges and heavy law enforcement. The feds were here and design firms and architects, whatever. That was our business. And this guy walked in who clearly looked out of place. And he walked up to the bar, and he wouldn't let the bartenders get his drink for him, this simple gin and tonic. He was insistent that they would go to the kitchen and get one of us that cooked to come out and have a man make his drink for him. Yeah, so you make his gin and tonic for him. Here you go, kind of thing. And he had these eyes, and I often refer to like Jurassic Park or like Jaws, where you've got the shark with the dead eye, but it's just looking at you, or the dinosaur that just, piercing you. And that's what his eyes were. He just had those eyes like gimlets that would bore into you. And again, no conversation. And he would just sip his gin and tonic, maybe have a second one, glare at people, and leave. And I've got kind of a theory about that. I think that 1991 is the year he was caught in July, and that's when his kill rate really increased. So as it increased, we saw more of him. Again, never a conversation, just the weird guy. And I think that he was just empowered because he wasn't getting caught. The few times that he had interactions with the judicial system, they slapped his hand and said, well, you'll never do that again. You're exposing yourself to kids. That will never happen.
Yep.
So they let him go. And I think that he just wanted to say, I'm the biggest badass in this room, and nobody knows who I am, and I can do as I please. So that's my theory on that.
100%. Yeah, I agree with that. Dahmer, his greatest power was he could blend into the crowd. Like, I've got so many weird connections with Dahmer. I grew up in West Dallas, just up the road from where his grandma was. In the late 80s, I went to college downtown Milwaukee. I had to take the bus, and I took the same bus that he took to his job at the Ambrosia Chocolate Factory. My best friend lived like down the block from where he lived, his apartment buildings. I have so many connections with Dahmer. I know I encountered him. I don't remember him, but I know I encountered him. And that's the scary part.
Don't you have his actual ID?
Yeah, when I was working at Walgreens, speaking of Walgreens, this was on 76 and Capitol. I was the manager. The photo clerk went on break, and this little old lady, tiny little 85-year-old woman comes in. She wants to get like a print from a print at the photo department. She hands it to me, and it's Dahmer's mugshot. I flip it over, and it says property of Milwaukee County Sheriff's Department. I said, okay, we'll get this done. Come back in an hour. So I go back, I call the police. Turns out this woman's grandson worked as a janitor at the county jail, wherever they housed the mugshots, and he stole it. So yeah, just got these weird connections with Dahmer going back years. Thankfully, I was never Dahmer's type. I was a short, fat white kid, not his type. So.
Chris, I've always wondered, where was Grandma all the time that he was killing people and dismembering them downstairs in her basement?
I don't remember her. I probably met her. You know, we didn't live far from each other. I don't remember her. I don't know. I mean, you know, I'm trying to think back to like the older people of West Dallas at the time.
Sure.
Pretty naive, pretty, you know, that don't really pay attention to anything, I guess. So, you know, Dahmer would just manipulated her. I guess that's my guess. You know, he was a master manipulator, as we all know now. So.
Well, he was certainly that, and he was obviously smarter than the average duck as well, and just his ability to manipulate the system. I can't imagine a scenario today, even with our skewed prosecutorial and judicial system, that somebody who has done the things that he did that he actually got caught for would still be released to go back, or even Cynthia Sapone, for gosh sake. So here you've got this 14-year-old boy who's running down the street, who's naked, who's bleeding from the head, where he was got his head drilled open, and he's bleeding from his butt as well. And two women stop, and they call the police. The police show up, and they release him to Dahmer, like, oh, this is an everyday affair. They go, well, this Dahmer guy must be factual. He looks like a reasonable guy.
Yeah. Come
on. How does this happen?
I mean, that's the Milwaukee County Police Department at that time, I guess.
I guess.
You know, I know that they came under fire pretty harshly after that. I see Joe from the Insane Asylum. That's another paranormal group. He wants to have an experience at Shakers. Do you welcome other paranormal groups to come in? And
absolutely, we there's nothing to hide here. In fact, just on our standard tours, we encourage people to take pictures. So, that's another thing that we have going on that other places don't, where they don't want you to take any film or any pictures or something. Please have at it. We don't have any controls to manipulate things or anything else, and it's not a Disney ride where you say at 7:15 they're going to appear. Here, come and see for yourself by all means, please.
Yeah, Joe, definitely take a tour of the basement. I saw the basement for the first time a couple times back. I was there, and the basement is fascinating at Shakers. Like you said, there's bodies buried in the basement. I was thinking about that, and I thought, if there's bodies buried in the basement, they were buried after the basement was already put in there. Obviously, it wasn't, they moved the bodies when it was a graveyard, and those were put after the fact. So, yeah, they have to be from like the 20s or the 30s.
There's a connection there somewhere. Yeah.
And you have a safe down there too that I just learned about when we were there.
Of course, that safe moves around. It's crazy. So we've got cameras everywhere now, right? And the interesting thing about that is that the phenomenon in the basement is never recorded. So our cameras are rather sophisticated. When you as a person walk through, there's a break. You can see where that is. And you can see that there's a bar that indicates what the movement's taking place. You can go back and look at that. You can see what's taking place. When the safe moves, it's not like if you have a white screen and you see a little black blip whenever a person crosses this, it grays out. It's like this monochromatic kind of thing. You can hone in. You can look at the safe because we've got just dedicated cameras in the safe, and it's all blurry. And then when it stops being blurry, the safe is moved. I can't capture that. So I can put that up. You're welcome to come and take pictures of that all day long if you like. And hopefully you'll be more successful than I am. But you will see the after effect of the safe. But you can clearly see there's nobody moving it. You see it's fuzzy, and then it's moved somewhere else. So that it moves around. It's like 500 or 600 pounds. Yes, there are casters on it, but they're old and rusty, and they would move in one direction. They don't bevel. So it's almost like this thing dances around. And you can see the marks on the floor, the hash marks that go hither and yon. They go every direction. So it's not just moving back and forth. And again, it's a heavy safe. We had we have a connection with the federal government. So we've had special agents, the FBI, that open up safes and things like that couldn't open it. And then we had a cat who works in the largest safe company in southeast Wisconsin. And he was so smitten when he took a tour that he came back and spent every Thursday for 50 weeks, made meticulous notes, and at the end he said, this simply cannot be opened up.
Wow.
So you can talk about, there's no hinge pins in it anymore either. It's all lead, so we can't x-ray it. And the big step would be to torch it open. I don't want to do that. And there's two reasons. One is because I kind of respect just the history for what it is. Sure. But the second thing is that we have psychics that are here all the time. So every Friday and Saturday, we've got different readers of different disciplines that are here. And to a woman, because they're all female, they all say, whatever you do, don't open this safe. There's something very valuable inside, but don't open the safe. I've seen enough things that I can't explain here and there are multiple people that have no connection to each other telling me not to open the safe, I'm not going to open that safe.
You got to open the safe. It's bugging me.
Well, if you try to torch it open, I mean, there could be dynamite in there, could be ammunition in there, it could be something explosive in there too. So yeah, you definitely want to be careful. But like, there's no bullshit here. Like this is all stuff that actually happens. Like you're not bullshitting people here. I've been into a lot of buildings where, bars. Okay, let's just say bars. I've been in bars before that all of a sudden become, ghost bars. This is the haunted bar. This used to be a horror house back in the 1920s, and come here and experience ghosts. Conveniently, these bars become ghost bars after they start having massive financial troubles. Isn't that convenience? But you never had financial troubles. This is not bullshit. This is you're on the level. Like this is the real deal here.
Yeah, and it's interesting that this has spawned a business onto itself. So Hangman Tours is the division that we have for the tours. Does our 5 tours here, does our tours in Savannah, and then we've consulted on other projects as well. And by and large, we get requests on a regular basis. Can you come in and help us to show us how to do exactly what you were just talking about, Chris? Mm-hmm. And the reality is, well, the first thing is that you've got to have ghosts. You've got to have some haunty things taking place, because we're not going to come in and fabricate something for you or create a storyline to accommodate, what we have found to work, because that's wrong, right? So I got a thought about the 2 ways that I go about this. And many people like to use the disciplined approach of having different meters and gauges and all sorts of things. And we use those incrementally. But I think that having people that are here that have a psychic connection, an ability, they're sensitive, whatever else, and have them walk through without the backstories, and to have them say, here, I felt this, I saw this. Then I have the body of work of people that are just tourists that come through. We're probably at 15,000 people here now just for the ghost tour that take pictures, and literally every night someone takes a picture. They're like, what's this? Look at this. How do you explain this? Mm-hmm. I don't have an explanation for it, but I know that you are just an average person walking around taking a picture, and you've taken 20 pictures, and there's one dead center that's much different. Why? You haven't changed. There's no apertures to change on your phone or anything like that, but It's changed. It's much different, and people always get these things and they capture these things. And I think that's one of the coolest things here, because you just never know where in the 4 stories we got here that you're going to find something like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of pareidolia in a lot of paranormal photographs, where your mind plays tricks on you. Mm-hmm. I understand that. I've seen a lot of pareidolia. But the thing about shakers, I've seen countless photographs. How many photographs can be taken of one location and have pareidolia? That's 1, maybe 2 pictures I can see pareidolia. Dozens, hundreds, how many pictures can have pareidolia? It's not possible. I don't think so. Yeah, there's something, Shakers has an atmosphere when you walk into it. Do you ever feel a heavy atmosphere? Like I said, I've been into haunted locations all across the country. Shakers has the most unique atmosphere. Like you feel the building is alive. I've never felt anything like I do when I walk into Shakers.
I can address that, I think, to some degree, because I've encountered things, again, other places. We've taken virtually every tour in this country that's supposed to be a tour to take. And by and large, it's like things seem to be so forced, and it seems like the tour, either the tour directors or tour guides, have a bit of disdain as they're talking about ghosts or spirits or something. Yeah. And I think one difference is that I consider, and I think most of the staff considers us to be stewards of things here. These spirits were here way before us. And I have a philosophical bent, so I think that basic metaphysics, essence precedes existence, and therefore in my mind, essence succeeds existence. So the energy that's any of the 3 of us, that is us living, continues on after we are through with the shells, right? We're dead. Yeah. But the energy doesn't just dissipate. It goes somewhere. It does something. And it seems for whatever reason that we have a disproportionate amount of it that's here. It's like it is home for them. It's an environment that they like being with. There's a connection for something that maintains this force here. So,
yeah, and your tour guides are very, very good too. They have a very good way of drawing the guest in. I've been on a couple of tours. I haven't taken all of them that I want to, but I'm very impressed with your tour guides. How do you find these people? How do you find these ladies, that men and women that want to give your tours?
For the most part, as bizarre as this probably sounds, they find us. Whether they've taken tours, they have a friend who's taken a tour, whether they've had an interest in something of, it could be paranormal, perhaps even the occult, whatever it is, they're drawn to come here. So we get a lot of people that apply, and most we don't hire. We try to find those people that have a pure motivation, I guess, that are history buffs, that are more inclined to be docents than they are to be just showmen or something like that.
Right. Well, I know I wanted to apply at one time to be a tour guide, so you might see my application come in.
Please, we'd be honored to have you, brother.
These days. Do you ever get uncomfortable? Do you ever feel like a heavy feeling at Shakers?
Yeah, there's a couple of times that I ran like a schoolgirl, and I'm not ashamed to say that. So
Sure.
there was
the same thing.
There was one time that an old girlfriend and I had gone upstairs to spend the night in the Airbnb. So it's a Saturday night. We just got back from Key West. It's August. It's hot. It's muggy. And there's a cancellation. So we decide that we're going to spend the night. And typically I'm here once a month anyway upstairs, just because I want to stay, kind of connected.
Sure.
So we're upstairs, and we're just planning to enjoy ourselves. Get up there, kick off our shorts kind of thing. And the smell comes up like New Orleans on a bad day, south of France, this bad sewagey kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's not preferable, but we've experienced that before. We're still here. So then that smell kind of morphs into like a stockyard. So it's like fresh blood and adrenaline. Very unpleasant, but we're in for a penny, in for a pound. Then I think right about that time, this sound came up like they're driving piles for a bridge or something, right? Just boom, boom, boom. It keeps going, and it's loud. 3:30 in the morning. You look outside, and there's not a soul. There's not a car. There's nothing outside. There's obviously nobody walking around. And she decides to walk out we have a deck on the back of the third floor. So she heads that way, and I decide I'm going to walk outside to see what I can see. And when you come here to spend the night, between the second and third floor, there's a staircase, there's a door. You close the door, you lock the deadbolt, and you go upstairs and play. Well, I'm walking down the stairs, and I hear what sounds like two women are kind of like sing-songing, kind of back and forth, chirping back and forth. And I recognize that from the movie Dillinger was filmed here by Warner Brothers. That doesn't bother me because I know that. Not a big deal. So as I'm listening to that, I'm reaching for the deadbolt, and I see the doorknob is turning. I don't have to open this door right now, I decide. So I go back upstairs where Amanda is, and we're talking about what we experienced. And then, we still got the smells that are here. We still got this boom, boom. That's kind of like a heartbeat in a way, in retrospect. So we still got this really loud pile driving kind of a rhythmic boom, boom, boom going on. And then there's complete silence. And it's like if you've either been in the military or in the medical profession where people die, I've heard stories from people, there is this sense of emptiness and maybe dread and just really ugliness for a moment. That was enough for us. So, shorts back on, grab her purse, grab my keys, grab hands, run down the staircase, into my car, which is outside, and hot and muggy, drive home to Brookfield, and there's no air conditioning on, and we are freezing our tails off. We pull up in my driveway, open the doors, and it's just another beautiful day, hot muggy night. And so something had come with us, and that was one time. The other time, we sell our ghost shirts and merchandise everywhere, so we boxed up someone's order that they had to have, and it was a Saturday morning. It's like 8 o'clock in the morning. So I drive back down to get this guy's shirt so I can get him into a next day shipping kind of a thing. And at that time, our merch room was down in the basement. So I'm here. There's nobody else here. It's a hot, beautiful day outside. And as soon as I opened up that side alley door and walked across my threshold, it was dark and ugly. And there was a sense that I was not welcome. But I got a job to do, right? So I walk downstairs, and we've got lights in the ceiling in the cellar, and I walk all the way back into this room, the merchandise room, and I open the door and I close the door. And I'm looking through boxes on shelves to get the right stuff that I need, the sizes that I need. And I hear stuff outside. And again, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. There's nobody else here. I lock the alley door behind me. And, my staff is here till 3 o'clock in the morning. They're not here. So I poke my head out of the room. I look around, and now all of the lights in the basement are off. So I'm there. Now the lights go out in the room that I'm in as well. Well, I don't want to stay in that room, clearly.
Right.
And the staircase that I came down is 100 feet away. And so I ran that staircase in the dark with no lights on whatsoever and bounded up those stairs and out that door. And as soon as I, again, opened that side door and out of the alley, it was just another beautiful day in Wisconsin. There are things here that, for the most part, are marvelous. And I think that just like people are intrinsically innately good, I think most spirits are intrinsically innately good. And whatever we've got here for ghost or whatever energy is here, it's mostly good energy. But every once in a while, we get something else in that's a non-resident spirit that is not so good. And I think that's what I encountered both those occasions. And I ran, man. I ran.
Yeah, I don't. What would you say is the easiest experience anybody's had at Shakers?
I'm sorry, you just broke up. What do I think is?
What is the craziest experience anybody had at Shakers, haunted-wise, ghost-wise?
Oh, geez. I mean, there was the maggot story, and I've told this before. So late 90s, early 2000s, I have to check the date on that. We hired a lot of Milwaukee ballet ballerinas, and because they're paid, nothing. So we just had a bunch of them working as bartenders and as servers here, and they were an absolute delight for any number of reasons. And I'm working behind a young lady who became a prima ballerina, Carissa. And so it's a Tuesday night, and I was working by myself in the kitchen. I shut down the kitchen at midnight. The bar is filled with people that are salivating, watching Carissa walk back and forth. The tables are filled up on top. The guy leaves, so I sit at the last stool at the bar, and I'm smoking, obviously, a cigar. And I'm not paying attention. I've got a large ash, and it falls to the floor. So just to make sure that it's out, I look down, and I take my bev nap with me, and I grab my ash. And while I'm there, I'm right by the side door, the alley door, and I see this maggot that's crawling underneath. So I grab another bev nap, and I go and I get this maggot, and I dispatch the maggot. I come back around. Now there's 3 more maggots that are coming underneath, so I dispatch them. I open the door, and I see a river of maggots. Guys, you won't believe this. I still don't believe it myself. This undulating, moving river of maggots between my building, and there's an alley, and then the building to the north of me. So I close the door. I go downstairs. I get a case of bleach. Walk out the front door. No one's looking at me. They're all looking at Carissa. So I'm pouring this bleach as I'm sliding. It's viscous. I'm sliding. So I'm pouring bleach on my building, go all the way in the back. The fire department is there. Our dumpster is there. The fire department's there. Cyclone fence. Everything is writhing with maggots.
Oh my God.
Millions of maggots. So I slide all the way to First Street, where Shakers is on Second. I slide all the way east to First Street. And right before the sidewalk, there are no more maggots. So somewhere between the sidewalk and within a few feet of that, the maggots appear. Not like 1 or 2. It's like now you've got maggots all the way across this alley, 16 feet or whatever it might be. And they're all headed to the west. There you can see a motion just like a river current. So I'm out of bleach at this point. I go back inside and say, Chris, I need you to see something. Don't scream. I'm not going to scream. Open the side door, looks, and okay. Last call, right? So we're kicking people out. They're disgruntled. Why are you closing on? We just, we've got early morning, something to do, whatever. So we're just about done, and 2 guys walk in the side door, and it's 2 Milwaukee police officers. So Greg Duran, who's been a friend of the house for years, and he's the FTO, the office training officer. He's got a brand new recruit with him, and they got a brand new squad car. So he walks in. How can you close early? I've never seen you guys close early. And I said, well, did you notice anything outside? He said, yeah, it stinks. These maggots are everywhere. I said, well, that's the reason, right? So she and I go home, and I'm back bright and early the next day. It's like 7 o'clock, 7:30, crazy early for me. And as I walk up, the alley is scrupulously clean. It looks like freshly poured concrete, right? So I walk inside. There's no maggots inside, whatever else. So I go home because I'm thinking otherwise I got to call the health department. There's a vector issue, whatever it is. I've never seen this, can't explain it. I go home. So our house psychic at that time was named Star, who passed last year from COVID. But Star was really instrumental in the early days in identifying all sorts of stuff or giving us directions that we should go look something, research this or this or this. So I don't see Duran, the officer, that night, but I saw Star. And I said, Star, what do you think about this? And she said, I don't have an explanation except that I think it's negativity that's all being carried away. Sure, works for me. Great answer, right? So the next night, I saw Duran, who came in socially. Got him a scotch, and I said, so what was that like the other night? He said, that was the weirdest thing ever, he said. In all the years I've been a cop. Got a brand new squad car, got a brand new rookie. We're looking around and back. He said we got the, whatever they call their spotlight. They're looking around the dumpster to see if there's a dead body that's there that would attract the maggots or whatever, right? So they got a call, an emergency call. So back in the squad, lights and sirens. He said they make it to the end of that alley and coming out on Virginia Street when their squad seizes up on the road, completely dead, won't restart, won't move, won't do a darn thing. I don't know. Connection? I've got no answer for anything, but whatever was there, that negativity is something maybe attached itself to the squad. I don't know, but we have a witness. So Duran is now the chief of police in Eagle, Wisconsin. And there you go. You got a cop as a witness. So,
wow, it's really bizarre. You mentioned food too. You're also a gourmet chef, are you not? And
I am. Yeah.
Shakers has some amazing food. I know we had the pizza last time we were there. Highly recommend the pizza. It was delicious.
Well, thank you.
We left the rest of our pizza in the refrigerator up on the third floor.
Oh, that was you. Okay.
Yeah, it was me. It was me. We were looking
We did save it for you, Crispy.
We'll get another one next time we come down.
Yeah. Little sea creatures are known mostly for cooking little sea creatures. So that's my orientation, really. And I had an opportunity to spend some time in the Caribbean, and I'm really smitten with Creole, Cajun, and Caribbean foodstuffs. And of course, those little sea creatures are fun to cook.
Yeah, my wife had the shrimp cocktail. She loved it. She loves shrimp. She loves seafood. I can't have it because I'm allergic to shellfish. So I get to lose out. But I enjoyed the pizza.
Thank you.
Matter of fact, there she is right now. That was an amazing pizza. She's watching now. Thanks for watching. Where are you? Are you home from work yet? You shouldn't be watching.
You know what? The thing I really love about Shakers is it's not just a ghost tour. It combines the mafia into it. And then you also get to combine the cigars. How do you get away with smoking it nowadays?
Yeah, the House of Contraband. It's interesting. We are the only licensed cigar bar in the city of Milwaukee, and I'd flippantly say that's because we pay off the right politicians. But the answer is that we were grandfathered because back in '86 we started to feature cigars. We've maintained that license, and whereas other people didn't do that because they foolishly thought that the Tavern League of Wisconsin or something was going to ensure them that they continued to sell tobacco products when the rest of the nation had gone in a completely different direction. And nobody else had the foresight, insight, or desire to do it. And because I'm a chef, it's always been part of my culinary background, and it's just the way that I look at the time I've spent, for example, in Europe. And you find any number of these high-end restaurants where people have had these exquisite meals, and to conclude the meal, they're having a cigar. And back when I pretended that I played golf, I mean, every time I was on a course, guys are smoking cigars. And I would contend that we have brought a lot of that back to Shakers, and there are probably as many deals legit business deals that are done here with cigars than there are on golf courses anywhere. So somehow it all juxtaposes together. I think what you were alluding to was the Capone aspect. So when PBS filmed this thing that's going to be playing in major markets, a new documentary on Capone and Speakeasy that comes out in December, we're a part of that. And they actually just called and asked if we could have some local talent that's here, and they'd have the local shooter come in and to film that as well, to kind of put the parts together like a saloon girl kind of thing. So we're going to accommodate them, obviously, to have a little more filler in there with that. But it should be a fun camp little story that they're doing. But yeah, so we've got these myriad things. Whether you've got the former cemetery, you've got the Capone aspect with the speakeasy, the myriad parts of things that we found here that go along with that. There is a legit psychic phenomena that is here.
Yeah, for sure. Just in case says rosemary marinated lamb chops and orange cake almonds. That does sound amazing. That is something I could eat.
Well, we've got a yeah, sure. Let me know when. We've got a one of our theme dinners. We have daily menus, weekly menus, monthly theme dinners, and this Saturday is going to be the final theme dinner on the rooftop. So we've got this beautiful rooftop bar on the second floor we've had for 30 odd years. And we've had the fourth floor, the Celestial Garden that we just opened up this year. And it is 360-degree vistas of Milwaukee, the Hone Bridge. I mean, all sorts of things. It's beautiful up there. So this will be the final dinner for that. But we're doing anything from, vichyssoise for the first course. I've got a Alaskan salmon for the second course. And then we're doing New Zealand red stag deer. And the final course is going to be antelope. So, we push a few boundaries of that, and then the other accoutrements that go along to construct these little magical dishes. And it's nice because we're not just the one-horse cowboy. We're not just a ghost bar. Ghost was incidental in so many ways, and now it's ridiculous how big of a thing that is. And as we broached in the other historic tours, Roaring 20s, Milwaukee was known as the best entertainment city in the country from 1885 to 1910. Mm-hmm. That entertainment was all the brothels that were there, anything from marble statuary and entryways and these little Viennese quartets playing to all the way down the street on River Street, what used to be River Street. It's now called Edison Street. And you'd have the horse stalls where people were engaging with horses. So Milwaukee had that history, and people came from all over the country to partake in what we had to offer that time. And of course, the gin mills, the opium dens, and all that type of thing. There was a significant Chinese influence as well, hence the opium at one point.
Yeah.
Socialists came to power in 1910. They shut down all of that activity around City Hall, which just meant that they moved somewhere else. In this case, they moved down to the warehouse district where Shakers is located. And the place next door to us, the opposite side of that alley, it used to be called Tony's Tap. And the ghost sign is still on the sign for the Hotel Frisco. So I talked to them years ago. Tony's now dead. So I talked to them years ago, and they're adamant that it was just a boarding house for young women who had a lot of male visitors. Their uncles would come to visit.
Sure.
Of course. So brothels were here and thriving in this warehouse district, and we're close to where the old port used to be. So they had a ready supply of guys coming in off the ships that wanted servicing.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
Oh, definitely.
So, of course, back then, you had to go out for your entertainment. I miss those days where you had to go out for your entertainment. Now everything you get, you can just push a button and see any movie, any TV show you want.
Sure.
People don't have to go out for their entertainment. What other kind of events do you have coming up at Shakers? I know we're kind of getting into the Halloween season. I think it's safe to say we're in haunt season. What kind of stuff do you have coming up?
Got some really cool things. We're showing all sorts of gear to you, I'm sure. All sorts of old movies, the horror classics and the film noir.
Yeah.
And that'll be a series on Thursday nights. So our little thriller on Thursdays. And we have a variety of different food things that go along with this as well. But the real pitch is going to be showing these old movies on our rooftop deck outside. And we've got a large screen and, the projector, the whole shtick. And along with that, we've got something coming up on September 26th that you actually orchestrated. Yep. So we're way looking forward to that. An extension of the Twisted Dreams Paracon world that you have.
Yep.
And that will be, I'm sure, very exciting. And then as we just move into the series of things with the Lugosis, the Karloffs, and all of that. And
so you have a projector and screen.
Correct.
Thanks, Chris.
Well, Bob told me that he didn't have it currently.
Well, it still hasn't arrived yet. So we've ordered these things, and we've had a logistics issue with absolutely everything we've done throughout the pandemic. And that could be something that I can't understand, like our blue crab claws that come from Colombia that they blame on the Suez Canal. Well, they're nowhere close to each other. We have a huge bourbon selection. It's the same kind of situation. Well, the Suez Canal. No, it's coming from Kentucky. Okay, there's no canal involved. But any of our building supplies or when we redid the fourth floor this year, it's not just the new roof we put on, it's these horse mats that came out of California that are, it sounds so simple, but they're 100 pounds each, and they're just massive things. And our railing system was imported from Philly, and our lighting and our sound system, whatever, nothing has arrived on time. So we've ordered the projector and the screen. Neither one have yet arrived.
Don't worry, because I bought a projector and screen.
Tom bought a projector. Tom invested in the
Tom, you're the best. Thank you very much. We'll make sure we take care of you for the rental of that. I appreciate that. But we've also got different things taking place in October. We have expanded from the 4 tours a day to 12 or 14 some days. Yeah. Last Saturday, for example, we had 102 people on tours. If you think about our average tour is 15 people, we really were over the top on that. So we added extra tours. If we could have added more, we could have filled those as well. So people are starting to come out earlier, and I think that's part of the effect of the pandemic, where they have just been dormant and looking jonesing for something to do, right?
I'm sure, yeah.
And
I know you do the Dahmer Tour. Do you still get people protesting that? I know that was an issue when you first
That was really for the first day or 2 days that we did that, and that was mostly Channel 6 that went to find the families who had been associated with Dahmer victims. And they made signs to them. They had them come down, and it's interesting because our tour walked on one side of the street. They walked, 20 people masked on the other side, chanting, holding up signs. Mm-hmm. And that was a big play with the media for the 1 o'clock, the matinee we did then. And by the time we got the nighttime tour, it had petered out to 2 or 3 people, and then that was pretty much it.
So that was a manufactured drama by the media. Interesting.
Shocking, I know, right?
I can't believe it.
Yeah, so it wasn't quite the Edward R. Murrow moment, but the local media certainly played into that. Now we're 30 years past that. Mm-hmm. And we have a history with Dahmer with at that time, the district attorney's office, certainly the judicial end of that, and the detectives that really had processed him and had done much with the investigation. So we were early on able to get a look at material that wasn't out there. It's before the internet, really. It's before all these things were available. And there is some gruesome stuff that's associated with that. And because anything from not just the coppers that were involved in the capture, but the people that had the cleanup crew for hazardous materials came in here that night. You saw them on the front page of Life and Look magazine, whatever's around them, Time magazine.
Yeah.
And they're here that night just pounding bottles of scotch. And then the next morning, we were asked by the authorities to open up early. So the phone call kind of went like this: at 7 o'clock in the morning, I'm at home, my phone goes off, I pick it up, and they ask if I could open early. And I'm thinking, sure, 11 o'clock or something. It's like, how about now, was the answer. I said, sure, I'll drive right down. So blurry-eyed, I'm standing behind the bar as they had somebody from, as I believe, it's the feds were there, DOJ was there, Milwaukee police obviously were there. They brought in only two reporters from Milwaukee that they wanted to handle the story, and not the national guys. So, as if they thought they could contain this or something. So, I'm blurry-eyed behind the bar, and they're hanging around the mugshots, and I see when I'm like, stop, I got a story on this guy, and that's when I retold the story for the first time about the gin and tonics of this guy that would come in. Because, he never said, my name is Jeffrey Dahmer. And so we've got that background that feeds into what we call the Cream City Cannibal Tour, and that's everywhere. So we actually even have special agents from the Bureau that come in from Quantico who are studying serial killers to take it. We work at different psych departments at different universities here, criminal justice departments. There are significant messages to be learned here, along with the simple things like, don't leave your drink unattended at the bar. Don't accept drinks from strangers. Don't go home for, to get $50 for someone taking nude pictures of you, whatever the case might be. And the people that take this tour are primarily women, 25 to 40, college educated, and they got a thing for serial killers. They got a thing for true crime. They got a thing for Dahmer, to the extent that, I talk to as many as I can, and some will say, if he was alive, I'd like to date him. I'm like, wow, it's a weird world that we have today.
Yeah, one of my questions was going to be, why do you think people are so fascinated with serial killers like Dahmer, or even Ed Gein or Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy? Why are people so fascinated?
I don't think that's a recent phenomenon. If you look at Whitechapel, certainly even the Boston Strangler, that lit up newspapers everywhere, right? And sold subscriptions. So when you have something that sells, then obviously the media wants to cover more of it, not to say, well, it's the public interest not to talk about this. We don't have copycats. And the more the media talks about it, the more it's a thing, and the more people want to do something with that. I think that may be part of it. Then I think about, America, and you've always had this cowboy mentality where we are nonconformists. And I mean, look how people really love the gangsters. Okay. So during Prohibition, anything you'd find, and the reason that things like the Untouchables were so popular was because people really enjoyed reading about these bad guys that are breaking into banks and taking money back and that type of thing. Mm-hmm. And maybe even go back to Robin Hood. He was the guy that did that. And then now we've got someone that's outside because we continue to expand as a society to want to keep push that envelope. So now it's not just the bank robber. It's not just the guy that's running gin mills and, thumbing his nose at the Prohibition, but now it's somebody who is taking other lives. Look at Dexter. Look how long that ran. What a popular series that turned into. Mm-hmm. And I think people just kind of have a fascination with things that are socially unacceptable, that they hopefully don't want to do themselves, but they get off just reading about it, watching it, or something.
It's the worst thing, right? Like, that's the worst taboo. That's the worst thing you can do is kill someone.
Well,
so everybody who's into that kind of just piles at the end of that's the worst thing.
Sure, and we all get stuck in situations on expressways everywhere where there's an accident on the other side of the road, and if it's a bad accident, I mean, traffic is crawling, right? Because they all got a rubberneck and look and see what's going on, and we're just built that way. So
I think a lot of women have this mentality. I can fix them. They want to date this bad boy they see as a broken man. They can fix him. I can fix this guy. Like that's why Tom has Molly, right? I mean,
yeah,
that's why I have my wife.
I'd be having dudes serving me drinks at Shakers.
Sure, yeah. Why not, right? Why not?
Do you think Dahmer found any of his victims at Shakers? If that was ever figured out?
No, I think he had such fertile hunting grounds down the block in either direction, whether that was at C'est La Vie or 219. Mm-hmm. And those were joints that really catered to that young waif, the one that was probably, kicked out of their family. They got nothing. They're 14, 16, 18 years old, whatever. They got no job. They got no money. Society's against them. No one understands them. And it was a much different environment in the 1980s and early 90s than it is today.
Sure.
You could even suggest that there's probably no reason to have gay bars or gay pride parades or things like that, because everything is so indoctrinated that part of what had them as being in need of an enclave that they can go and not get hassled or something, I would think that unless you're down south, that's probably gone.
Yeah, I remember Walker's Point in the early 90s. That's when I started going. Of course, Walker's Point is kind of the bar district on the east side of Milwaukee. Well, Shakers is considered Walker's Point. Mm-hmm. It was so different back then. Like my friends and I would go into the gay bars. We went into La Cage, which is a notorious gay bar in Milwaukee that Dahmer went to. I don't want to say it's a notorious gay bar, but that's the notorious gay bar Dahmer's known for going into. Right. Yeah, it's so different today. I can't put it into words, but it's a different feeling. When did you open Shakers again?
1986.
86. Okay. And when did Dahmer start coming in there, do you think?
1991, January.
Okay, so right before he got caught.
Right, in July.
Wow. Did you ever think that you'd see this guy on the front page of the newspaper?
Oh, we all knew he was odd, more than odd. But no, I could never fathom or imagine that he would be both a serial killer and a cannibal. No.
Did he ever hit on you, Bob?
Oddly enough, no.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, I guess you're not his type either.
I'm not his type,
I should just shut up. I'm putting my foot in my mouth.
No, you know what really shows talking to Bob is that it seems like, Bob, you really love this place. You love your life. You love Shakers, the way you talk about it. It's nice to see.
Tom, I've had a great ride, and I We always say that Shakers is not better than anything else in Milwaukee, but we're certainly different. And my approach to food and booze and hospitality is probably different as well. My grandparents had restaurants, and I was brought up thinking that, the most important part is the weakest link, whether that's your dishwasher, that's the guy who's delivering beer for you, whatever it is. I've been to so many joints, whether it's, Chicago and Florida, other things I've been involved with, where the people that are running the operations treat a lot of their staff like crap. They treat customers like crap. They have disdain and contempt for them as well. Delivery guy, F you, that's ridiculous. Those are the people that allow you to be in business and to do what you need to do. And you have to have respect for people. You have to have respect for the people that work for you and with you. If you're not willing to do those things, you shouldn't be in this business, and probably not in other businesses either. But that's what was ingrained in me at an early age when I was a kid, seeing how hard my grandparents worked and what they did and just how they approach things. So that's hopefully how I comport myself and what I do with people here. I really do enjoy this. It's been a phenomenal ride. It's taken me around the world a couple times. I've had a blast cooking for people that you would not imagine that I've cooked for here in Milwaukee, that have either been flown in by at that point, the Department of State or just the coolest celebrities that are just suddenly here in my place, and then they're gone the next day. So it's been a really interesting ride, and just that even discounts the normal people, man. I mean, there's something special about Milwaukee. So I got things in other places, but this is my home. This is the genesis for everything. This is where my kids are. I love Milwaukee, and I love this place.
Yeah, Milwaukee's a pretty rad town. I think we're just about out of time. I did put Shakers, the website, in the comments. So if you're interested in checking out Shakers, check out the comment section. Go reserve the third floor. Reserve the bed and breakfast. It's an amazing experience. You'll never stay at a place quite like Shakers. Bob, any final thoughts?
It's been a blast being here. But yes, I encourage everyone to look us up, hangmantours.com or shakercigarbar.com. And we've got a lot going on, and we'd love for you to be part of it. So
yeah, it's an amazing place. If you're a paranormal group, check them out. Just check it out. It's amazing. It's an awesome place. Anyway, join us next week. We'll have somebody new or somebody old. Who knows? But until then, we'll see you.
Chris, Tom, cheers.